Welcome back to 2% Football Camp. I'm Eduardo, Sicilia, and today we have prepared another interview for you guys. Believe me, I know we haven't produced as much English content as we would like to, but this is a really special friend of mine, very successful at different sports, multiple times a state qualifier, and he's entering his sophomore year in college with a scholarship as a wrestler. Personally, one of the biggest gym rats I've ever met. He's a true hard worker, and believe me, he doesn't give up. Well, with that being said, we are very grateful to have my friend right here, Brett Mower, with us. Thank you for being here, Brett.
Yeah, of course. I'm excited.
Well, let's roll. We know you played a lot of sports, but first start with the story about how you got introduced to one or all of them.
Yeah, so really honestly, with all the sports that I've played, I mean, I've dabbled in a bunch of different stuff throughout growing up and especially high school. I tried to do as much as I could. But it started with soccer and hockey, as weird as that is, when I lived in Idaho. And then when we moved out to Iowa, just homecoming was the hugest, biggest thing. And like everyone in Glenwood just took sports so seriously. Like it was the biggest thing like in the world, seeing homecoming and everybody there from previous graduation classes. It was something else. And so that was football and wrestling were the huge ones that everyone just got involved in. So I kind of jumped in there as well.
Nice. Well, we know that you were good at multiple sports, but you decided to take your scholarship as a wrestler once in college. Why, or where does that decision comes from?
Yeah, so wrestling, it's just tougher. And the amount of fun, it didn't really play a role because every sport has its own uniqueness and fun in that way. But wrestling, it's just super challenging. And the more challenge you have, the higher the reward. And for me in life, that's what I'm going for. I'm trying to get that most challenge and to grow the most, to see how much I can put myself up against. And wrestling, it just builds that character. And I mean, as you know, adversity builds character, and wrestling, I haven't found anything besides wrestling that does that.
This is the first time in an interview where I won't agree with you because you know how much I love football. I won't say wrestling is tougher, but something that you said is really, really true and meaningful. How sports bring the best out of you and teach you so many lessons and values, and you can apply that to your regular life. Now, when it comes to that, what do you aspire to become in the future, both as a person and as an athlete?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and but questions like these, they evolve. As you evolve, they evolve. But I think the truth is that you just got to find the truth, right? And that have faith in that higher purpose. And who I aspire to become, it'll just become more and more clear as I get towards that truth and that higher purpose. But for me, like on a daily basis, what I see is the greatest version of myself. He's always right in front of me, and on that daily basis, who I aspire to be is him, because he's doing everything right. He's eating the right diet. He's trying his hardest. He's doing everything. And if I can just focus on the greatest right in front of me, and I'm trying to reach out and grab him, chase him the whole time, then I can be the best son, brother, follower, listener, and leader.
Right. When it comes to your answer, it remembers me two really important points. Well, the first one is there's this speech by Matthew McConaughey when he won one of his Oscars, that he's talking about his idol being Matthew McConaughey of 10 years after that point in life, or in 15 years, and how he's always chasing that. And I totally agree with that mindset. I love it. I think it pushes us to never be conformed with where we are at. We always try to move forward. And now the second point is, I get what you're saying, but for the people who don't really understand what you're saying with the truth, how would you describe that?
So I think it just goes into mentality, and I won't get into it too much, but like just your faith, like believing and that there is a higher purpose and that there is a lot more than just what we see now. Once you start to tap into that, it just becomes more and more clear. And it's not something that it's just like an ah moment, you know, like you just know everything, because we don't. We really don't know it too much, but you work on it every day. And I think that's the truth, is just following what you know in your heart is right.
Consistency, that's the key
every
right
day.
there. Now, I know you're a firm believer of the success circle and how you surround yourself with that kind of people. How important do you think it is for someone to choose wisely when it comes to their loved ones and the people surrounding them?
Fly with the crows, become a crow. Fly with the eagles, become an eagle, right? Who you hang out with is your choice. That's 100% up to you. However, family may not be, you know, and that's a tough one. But at school, after practice, and especially online, okay? Instagram, everyone's on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter. Who you follow is exactly what it pours into your mind. So if you're following accounts that are negative and aren't following the right things and pouring negativity into your life, you're choosing for it to be that way. And even if you're in that situation, like let's say you're hanging out with friends or anything like that, and you're in a situation you're not supposed to be, that doesn't mean you have to succumb to it, you know? It doesn't mean that you have to let that pour into your mind. You have to stand at the gate of your mind at all times, because at the end of it, you choose what goes into your head, and you choose your decisions.
Yeah, you know, there's two things here. What you were talking about not surrendering to circumstances, there's this story about two children growing up with an alcoholic dad, one being really, really bad in life, being poor later on in his success path, and one being really, really successful. And they both credit that either success or failure to their dad being a failure or being an alcoholic. One learned from it and grew in the opposite side, and one just followed his dad's footsteps. And when you were talking about social media, there's this study actually where they got into kids' phones and unfollowed everyone and just followed accounts that were talking about successful people, learning in the school, being a good student, a good teacher, person, whatever, compared to people who were just following stars and their friends. And the first ones got way better grades. They started to achieve more. It's what you see every day that's gonna get inside of your brain.
Yep, that's that consistency.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think we've talked about this, and we both love and have this desire to spread the quote-unquote mentality everywhere we go. I think they don't necessarily have to understand you, but that there's this limit in which people are simply going against your principles. How do you determine this, and what do you do then?
You know, there's always going to be people to go against you and try to tear you down, no matter how much you try and bring them up. I mean, Jesus, you know, he did everything right, and they still beat him up and nailed him to a cross, to say the least, you know.
Right.
And for us, that's a level that obviously we won't have to experience, because it was paid for us. But as far as not understanding and then turning that against you, it shouldn't mean that you quit trying, or it doesn't mean that you should even limit your opportunities by stopping to convince them to a certain degree, because you know it's like that energy bus. You gotta choose who's on your energy bus or not, and you can't wait around for forever. But by being the best you can be and chasing that potential, like we were talking about with the Matthew McConaughey speech, which again is where I got that idea. With anybody, whoever it is, deep down they want you to succeed, because they want to be brought along. It's the shallow things that get in the way. They're difficult, right? They're tough things, but they're shallow. Jealousy, envy, greed, they're just not a match for the truth that we're talking about and that mentality. But the truth and the mentality, like you're saying, spreading it has to be active, right? It's like a gardener. Gardener, you know, you can take the weeds back as far as you want. The gardener, I mean, the weeds are no match, right? But the gardener has to be active. They have to be out there every day taking care of it. And it's no different from spreading that mentality and believing in it in yourself.
I think there's a big obstacle though. There's a big misconception about success. Like you said, you start gardening these roots and these plants, and for them to grow, when we were talking about people, the first obstacle that comes into their minds is, that's not fun. Consistency is not fun. And I hate that. And I think this is a huge misconception because, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but when you love what you do and you grind at it every day and you're successful at it, or you try to be successful at it, you have fun. That's why what the title is, SuccessFun. You have fun while doing it. That's the passion. What do you think about it?
Yeah, and again, it depends. Like, you have to define fun, right? A lot of people, the consistency, it doesn't bring instant gratification, right? It's not instant, but what it does bring is true joy, you know, and that's powerful. That's what changes lives, is that true joy that you have consistently every day pursuing your potential. You know, there's a lot of different perspectives, right, and different fun. Like, as far as competition goes, when I go out to compete, I'm an entertainer. That's what I'm trying to entertain, and I don't want people just to see it. I want them to just lean forward closer and closer, and they start to feel it. Yeah. They can feel my heart, they can feel my drive, my determination, and my purpose behind it. And I think what that is again, it's huge, right? That fun of just consistently doing it every day. And it's not about the competition, because again, we talk about controllables and uncontrollables all the time. The result isn't a controllable. You know, you can do as much as you can, and at the end of the day, you're either gonna learn or you're gonna win, right? You win or you learn. There's no losing, but having the detachment from the outcome and enjoying that everyday, consistent, persistent pursuit of your potential. Again, going back to it, just trying to be the best you can be every day for the people that matter and the purpose that matters. That's fun. That's
yes.
fun.
You know, of course there's gonna be sacrifices, but I think people divide this into two sections. Either there's the people who say, have fun with it, and they're pretty much telling their kids, if you lose, it doesn't matter. And then you have the other people that say, you can only have fun if you win. I stand in the middle. If you're not having fun doing what you're doing, you're in the wrong business. You said that once, and we've discussed that. You learn or you win. But for you to wake up at 4 a.m., you can only do that if you love it, if you have fun with it. As easy as that.
Yeah.
Now, it might be fun, but let's not get this mixed. It's a challenge. It always is. But for people like us, that's the fun in it. We are obsessed with the struggle, and we even welcome the mistakes. You have to learn from them. How much do you love adversities? How much do you love going against all odds?
So, like I was talking about earlier, adversity is everything. It's how much you can grow, in my opinion, in this life. Like, in my eyes, I'm trying to seek out as many no's and as many challenges as I can, because it's a fact that eventually there's either going to be a yes, or with the challenges, there will be enough triumph or a lesson to be learned. And both, like we were talking about, both are great. You know, it's fun either way. But always seek the opportunity to grow. It may seem scary and it may be risky, but you really never lose. And it may be as cliche as everybody says, but cliche is the truth. And as far as against going all odds, for me personally, I think the odds are always on my side, because my purpose is aligned correctly. No obstacle, nobody on this earth or anything on this earth is greater than my purpose. Therefore, it can't be stopped. And the greater the purpose you have, it pulls you through. One thing though that I do like to say and give myself a check if things are kind of seeming in a rut, right? Like you're saying, like the world's pushing down on you. I just like to look at where I'm at. So if I'm following the crowd, I turn around and mentally in my head, I turn around and I run as fast as I can away from the crowd in the opposite direction. And in my experience, I've always been right in terms of not following the crowd. And even if you are wrong, you're gonna find out faster, right? The faster you run, you'll find out pretty dang quick that you're going the wrong direction. But I think that's the key, is not being a part of that, not being mellow and complacent like you were talking about earlier in that spot. Pick a direction and go.
This will sound like a huge influencer thing, but I used this quote not long ago in one of my Instagram pictures, and it says that I'm willing to fail in being original than succeed in imitating or copying someone else. Like you said, going against the crowd. If that's what you believe in and that's what you want to work at, I think it takes a lot of courage and it's a brave thing to do. I embrace that totally. Now, how much can success feel in your life? I have experienced rough times where being successful is what I do to keep me going, to keep my mind in peace. How have you experienced being in the zone? That moment where you feel in a role and good things just keep happening. How has that been for you? How do you stay in that role?
So that's very interesting, and I've actually come face to face with it just starting college, right? Coming out of high school, you're the top dog, right? You're a senior, you're kicking butt, you're the man, and then you get to college and you're face to face with men.
Yeah.
and you realize that like you're right back at the bottom again. You're a freshman. And if you look at it from a whole perspective, it seems like a lot. You're at the bottom of the totem pole, and you have all the way to go to the top to even be a competitor. But when you look at it like that, it just tears you down, right? And it's getting in that rut like you're talking about. So Will Smith, you gotta look this up. He talks about his father, him and his brother. He made him dig a 6-foot hole, okay, and all the way around this perimeter to build a foundation for a brick wall. They were out there for 2 summers straight trying to build this brick wall. And he said every day his dad came out and said, don't try and build a wall. You have to lay the brick as perfectly as you can, right? And I think that's what you have to do. It's the little things that add up to the big things. It's not the mountain ahead that wears you out. It's the pebble in your shoe, and if you just focus every day, and I keep saying it, but David Meltzer, following your consistent, persistent pursuit of your potential without quit and detaching your happiness from the outcome. That's what it's all about.
Right. A lot of coaches talk about quicksands. When something goes wrong and you pay a lot of attention to it and something else goes wrong and something else. But also, like you said, when you focus on the little pebble, you go into he's hot, he's in the zone. And you just start upgrading yourself, getting better, and you start in a roll. You're totally right. Now,
you build, yeah.
For sure. The only way to improve is to be obsessed with constant improvement. You have to have that competitive edge. But we know anything can happen when it comes to the things we can't control. To close this up, you knew I had to bring this up to the people. I won't spoil it for you guys, but my brother over here is obsessed and loves the quote, "It's all risky." And I completely love it. I completely love the reason, and I think he even dreams with that quote sometimes. Tell them the story.
Yeah, those controllables, they're finite. Okay, there's not a lot of them at all, actually. It's really your attitude, your effort, and your preparation. Everything else you can turn off and not have to worry about, right? They take care of themselves. So that's where the risk comes into play. Once you break it down, you kind of realize that either 2 things, depending on how you look at it. It's either all risky or it's not risky at all. For me, I just like how risky sounds, but you like Jim Rohn says, you can be too reckless, but there's not very many people like that. Everyone is too cautious, and that's why there is that crowd. There's that complacency. And if you want that safety and security, again, you'll be fed, looked after, and you'll probably live to be 100. But that's no way to live, and so many people choose that route just because of the fear. And the funny thing about it is if you start peeling back fear, it's like an onion. You peel it back and you peel it back, you realize that there's no substance to it. It's just fear feeding off of itself. And once you get over that and you take that jump, you look over and you make that risky take, whether it's investing, whether it's just going for it, all in, burning your boats, you start to see the opportunity. And it's a rush. To live with a burning passion and desire, that's what it's all about. I'd rather live 30 years full of adventure than 100 years safe in the corner, right? And Eddie, that's a little bit of my perspective and learn from others' experiences. I'm sure when we do this again, it'll be sharper and a little bit more aligned with the truth. But I'm just blessed to have you as a friend. It's been great to share.
Right, thank you, Brett. Just thank you. Of course, we can't live in a little bubble. Why would you live then? If you're just gonna stay there, you won't enjoy your life. I'm gonna play the audio right now. It has a ring to it. I think I'll stick with you guys. It's kind of funny, but it's really true.
Over caution. It's called the language of the poor. I used to say, what if this happens? And on top of that, if this was to happen, look at the fix I'd be in. I better not try. Then I'll tell you what changed my whole life when I finally discovered it's all risky. The minute you were born, it got risky. If you think trying is risky, wait till they hand you the bill for not trying. It's all risky. I'll tell you how risky life is. You're not going to get out alive. That's risky. Don't ask for security. Ask for adventure. Better to live 30 years full of adventure than 100 years safe in the corner. And see, it's not important how long you live. What's important is how you live.
Now, to close this off, we have a special question for you. Maybe you have heard this one before with Coach Faust's interview, but with all the knowledge you have right now, with all you have experienced, if you could see 10-year-old Brett, what would you tell him?
I would say no matter what anybody says, if they're trying to tear you down, if they're being negative, don't listen. Keep doing what you know is right, and the people that do care, they'll help you. They will. Everyone has a hand to dip in. There's no such thing as a self-made man. Everyone's there to help, and there's an abundance of people to help. So I would say ask for help, Brett. Ask for help as much as you can. Don't feel that you need to do it all alone, but don't listen to the negativity at all. Just go for it.
Love it. The importance of our loved ones surrounding us, and sometimes kicking wrong people from our lives off of it. Well, I can't thank you enough. Thank you for the interview, Brett. Hope you guys liked it. Maybe we'll have him here for another interview later on in his life. Like he said, he's a great friend of mine. I really admire him.
Likewise.
It has been a blessing to share a lot of experiences with you. And well, if you guys like this interview or something helped you along the way, please share it. Like this video, subscribe if you can. I'm Eduardo, Sicilia. Our special guest was Brett Mower, and this is 2% Football Camp.
Thank you.